Get into the divisional round recaps and start with Sunday Night Football, which was absolutely electric. Yeah. Obviously, Matthew, you were there for the Rams' overtime win against the Bears.
It was cold.
Thriller. It looked very cold. Kyren Williams, far and away, the most productive fantasy performance here with almost 28 fantasy points. The next tier down is DJ Moore, who only had 17 points. A huge win for Stafford and McVay, who spoke on it after the game.
It's a team effort. We got a resilient group. Love being a part of it. Obviously, things we can do better, but we found a way to win the football game, and in January and February, that's what matters.
I'm really excited because I can dive into this and I can be better for us, and we'll have to be against a phenomenal defense next week. But guys just kept battling. They kept believing, and that's what it's about. There's no style points. It's about being able to survive and advance, and we were able to do that in a tough, hostile environment, and it was cold as shit today.
Yes, Coach, it was.
Second that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And and I had the tough call of do I go beanie, no beanie?
You didn't go Trapper Hat.
I didn't go Trapper Hat. They didn't have
plus
one.
800 did not cash.
Yeah, exactly. I thought about Trapper Hat, but it just didn't get there, unfortunately. But I did. I also, if you watch the video of I did my Berries bet, which by the way cashed again. Yeah. Caleb Williams over 32.5 passing yards, 9 in a row. Yeah, again,
wow.
Well, I've hit 9 in a row because, again, last week, Amari and Hampton.
That's right.
Yeah, we got the early
Crown.
exit.
Mr. King.
Mr. King bailed us out with the early exit, so it wasn't a loss. At any rate, but I also went gloveless. So if you look at the hit on my social media, I went without the cap.
You and Ben Johnson.
Me and Ben Johnson
No
went
gloves.
without the cap. No gloves. I had gloves on originally, but it was so cold. My fingers were so cold. We had these heaters down there on the sideline, and so I held my hands just by the heaters, and the heater was probably where you're sitting, and I held my hands here. And they had it so fired up that I didn't even look, and I looked down, and the plastic on my gloves had burned away. And so it was nothing but
frayed.
Stuffing. It was frayed. And so I was like, I can't go on there like this. So I took it off. I bare knuckled it.
Like a homeless person on television.
Yeah, exactly. Normally I only look like a homeless person when I'm off air. I don't like to do it on air. I don't know that there's a big fantasy takeaway here, obviously, for people that are still in playoff leagues that are doing guillotines. By the way, you can actually draft a 3-person guillotine at guillotineleagues.com if you want to do that. One team will be eliminated in the championship round, and then, of course, last 2 will play in the Super Bowl. But it was nice to see, to me, the biggest thing from Kyren here, obviously, that, the Blake Corum stuff seemed to go away here in crunch time. 80% of the Rams running back touches. It was his highest. He had a 68% rush rate. That was his highest since week 5. And I think what's interesting is for the longest time, Connor, they weren't using him in the passing game, and in this one they did. He catches 4 balls for 30 yards on 5 targets. He's now had at least 3 receptions in 4 of the past 5. So it does feel like, and I don't know if that was a function of just guys were covered. It was weird. It didn't. I was surprised that Puka couldn't go off. Adams seemed to be a non-factor until the controversial call late.
Right.
So just curious, but so credit to the Bears defense because they showed up in a way that I didn't expect.
I'm with you all the way. We went through this weird wave this season, the middle of the season, where we think they're trying to save Kyren Williams' legs for down the stretch. Yeah. So Corum's getting more involved. Then Corum got so involved, we're like, wait a second, do they just like Blake Corum? Yeah. And now in the biggest game of their season, it's no, they were trying to save Kyren Williams to be fresh down the stretch with the 21 touches, 21 rushes, and like you said, the 4 catches. 7 combined catches for Puka Nacua and Davante Adams with no touchdown. So if you were playing daily, those guys were huge busts. On the Sunday slate, they were projected as the number 1 and number 2 picks in daily.
11.2 fantasy points for Puka Nacua on 5 for 56. That's his lowest in a healthy game this entire year, right? And Davante Adams has 19 targets in 2 playoff games. He's caught 7 of them. Is Davante Adams are we hitting a wall with Davante? It doesn't.
It's starting to look like it. He does not look nearly as fast. And maybe that's some of the soft tissue injuries down the stretch, but he's had those every year for 3 years. He doesn't look like Davante Adams, even the impressive 30s, 30s version of it.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't noticed it this year fantasy-wise as much because he's been scoring so many touchdowns, but he's not a guy that was getting
volume, no.
Volume, and again, you're on a team with Puka Nacua and a team that runs the ball well, and that not one of the tight ends is consistent enough that you feel good starting about any of them, although I think if I had to pick one for next year, it'd be Colby Parkinson right now.
I'm with you.
But they throw to if you just think Rams tight end, they throw to those guys combined that take some target share away here.
But Terrence Ferguson with the game on the line.
I mean, what are we doing?
It was like Terrence Ferguson down there? That's like to win the game. So
it was a bad game, bad day at the office. He wasn't great last year in this same game, which NBC also had. It was the Rams at Eagles in the divisional round last year, and we were at that game. And I just remember Stafford did not play great in that game, and he looked cold. But that was a better. I mean, that was the Eagles' defense versus what the Bears have been rolling out. Credit to Dennis Allen. He called it, I thought, a really good game. Those guys played tough, but Stafford did not look great in this one.
For Caleb Williams, game of highs and lows, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Of course, the 14-yard, and I say 14-yard because it's over 50 yards in the air, tying touchdown. Some rushing, and the interception that Cam Curl caught in overtime.
What's your take on that? Because some people thinking that DJ Moore just quit on the route.
I watched the All-22 this morning, and as soon as he starts to break in towards the middle of the field, he totally drops down to a different gear where you're like, and he doesn't flatten. He kind of drifts higher. And and by the way, not a smart throw. Yeah. You watch it, Kyle Monangai chips the pass rusher and releases it 2nd and 8. If Caleb Williams, who's been good at this year, just checks the ball down, it's probably 3rd and 3 at its longest. Kyle Monangai could break a tackle and it's a first down. It's probably 3rd and 3.
Right.
He takes a chance. It's a bad route. It's not a great ball, and Cam Curl makes a great play.
Yeah, and it's second down, and and there's no time constraints because it's the playoffs. You ain't running out of time. And they're playing until somebody wins.
And you probably have 4 downs with Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
You probably treat it like, man, if I get this to 3rd and 3 and we don't get it, our head coach, knowing how he is, probably goes for it.
I mean, they were going for it all game, and they've always been going. That's traditionally how they've been playing this year as well. It's a shame because, by the way, DJ Moore had a great game overall. He's had a great playoffs, and it's not like we're sitting here what are you doing? Game on the line, and you're throwing to Olamide Zaccheaus.
Right.
He went to Olamide Zaccheaus saying why am I catching strays?
Yeah.
But right.
Me?
But yeah, I mean, it was just a tough route, and Cam Curl made a good play. Former Commander, great Cam Curl.
That's right.
Former Washington great. I don't think they were the Commanders when Curl played for us.
He was good though.
He was great. And once again, I've somehow managed to turn it back. I've managed now to work the Commanders, who aren't in the playoffs and weren't
7th overall.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But it's back to the Commanders.
But I've managed
by the way.
I've managed to work them in twice.
More Commanders talk on this show.
Yeah.
We'll get there. The highs and lows of Caleb Williams, does that make him exciting for fantasy next year? Because it feels like, who cares about the interceptions or the misses? He has enough big plays where you're like, and he runs.
Yeah.
Probably should run more.
1,000%. This was his first year in Ben Johnson's system, too.
Right.
And so as the year went on, you saw that they started to get rid of some of the bad habits in terms of holding the ball too long. And then, but then the holding the ball too long also leads to, brilliance, like the 4th down play last week and the touchdown to Kmet last night.
Right.
I mean, and so... Yeah, I think, I had Caleb Williams he was on the love list in the preseason, and he was a top 10 guy for me in the preseason. I believe he finished in the top 10 on a points per game basis this year. And so, for sure, especially when you think about for Caleb Williams, 2nd year in Ben Johnson's system, but also 2nd year with Colston Loveland, healthy Rome Odunze. You expect Luther Burden now to have a full-time role. He was a non-factor for the first half of the year.
They're pretty loaded.
We'll see if DJ Moore comes back or not. But
no.
Yeah, probably not. But they'll get somebody.
Doesn't matter. Honestly.
They'll get somebody, right? They'll whether they draft somebody, whether they get a free agent. By the way, Olamide Zaccheaus is. There are much worse third wide receivers in the NFL than Olamide Zaccheaus.
Right, and he's 4th.
Right, and that's my point. But my point is if DJ Moore leaves and that, in essence, Olamide Zaccheaus is your 4th pass catcher after the 2 wide receivers in Loveland, you'd be fine, especially assuming they have, I don't know if Swift is going to be back, probably, but they'll have somebody like him, plus Monangai, and
both running backs catch the ball.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
not a big deal.
It's long story short, yes, I'd be very excited about Caleb Williams next year in fantasy. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel.
You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.